great thing about this podcast, Rosita, is that I just want you to be you. That's the beautiful part of it. And because the thing about you that I like, just to be really honest, I forgot, I'd have to look at our notes to see how we met, but we ended up having lunch closer to your office. And the degree of knowledge you have, all that's great. Professionalism, great. Yeah, obviously you know your stuff. You're really great at what you do. But your degree of care, I thought that was what really, really stood out for me. And it was in sincerity. And so to me, there's such a strength in being kind and that. And then when I asked you about, talk to you about what you did and stuff, you go, well, first off, you say, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. And then I said, well, what do you do though? But the first things you said was, I'm a mother and a wife. And I thought that was great. But you also own your own practice, Yacobi Law. And I've just really enjoyed getting to know you over the years. And you have a tone to you that I just really, really appreciate. And I've got to imagine that your clients just absolutely adore you because of that.
Yes, I actually get hugs. Some of the other attorneys around here are like, why do your clients hug you before you leave? Mine are yelling at me.
That's good. I like that. That's very good. We're going to be getting into the real estate hell. It was interesting because when I started this podcast, a couple of people said, ooh, that sounds so negative. I said, but it rhymes with Nell. Come on. It's going to be like, ooh, real estate pro tips with Scott Nell. It's like, come on. So that's why we did it. But it's about the victory behind it. So things that you've gone through and how you're able to help people. And that's what I like to hear about these crazy things that happen in deals and, oh my gosh, but what did you do to remedy it or to maybe make it a little bit better or sometimes the gloves just had to come off. Who knows? So,
yeah.
So tell me about your practice, please.
Okay. So in March of 2024, we changed the law firm from Yacobi Law to Paradigm Legacy Planning.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. I didn't call that out.
Okay. So the whole point is to offer services that are comprehensive and fit for the clients in a new way of doing things. That's what Paradigm is. A new way of helping families set up their plan that works when they need it. It's maintained throughout their lifetime. And what can we do to make things easier for the next generation? And we're dealing not only with passing, we're also dealing with incapacity. And people forget about that portion, which is, I think, to me, very critical. Sometimes someone's incapacitated just for a short time. And we need to figure out what can we do to put things together. So a lot of what I do has changed over the years because something has happened to someone. So I'll tell you the first, I would say, the hellish thing that happened that just changed the way I practice law. My kids were little and we had gone to dinner with my husband. I said, hey, if you don't come home tonight, what's going to happen? And the practical thing is I had a will, I had a trust, I know what that means. But practically speaking, what would happen? And then a few weeks later, I got a call from a friend of ours. They live in Orange County in one of those communities where the doors are open. And she said one of their neighbors went out to dinner, didn't make it home. A drunk driver hit this husband and wife and killed them. And I was devastated to hear it because I had met the parents and I had met the kids. I said, okay, go. They had keys to each other's homes. I said, go see if you can find the will, the trust, anything, something in there saying who's going to watch the kids. She went in, there was nothing, no documents in place. The police were there. They wanted to take the kids to Child Protective Services. I said, oh my God, my heart broke. I said, okay, relatives, who's around? Let's get that together. We can ask the court. The deceased husband's parents were too old. And the grandmother on the mother's side lived in another country. It took her several weeks to get a visa and come. So these kids were in Child Protective Services. And mind you, at the time, they were 3 years old and 5. So I said, this is not something I want any other parents to leave their kids with. So I get goosebumps even after all these years. I'm like, this is not something that can work. What can I do to make a difference? So we have particular documents. Some attorneys are doing it now where we do nomination of guardianship outside of the will. And the kids, you don't have to go through the court process, getting the court approval or somebody arguing. So all of that is set up in such a way to avoid having these kids ever go to Child Protective Services.
Oh my gosh, that just sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So you're starting off on a really depressing note, Rosita. I should have. But seriously, what I like about your story though is that something terrible happened, and what you did is you took action. So now you're going to do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen with other people. And so
Exactly.
that's great. I love that. Do you also do what is I think you talked about it recently, because sometimes I see you on Instagram Live and I really enjoy watching you. So we're going to have to definitely pump that up when we launch these. But I think you were talking about, what about a kid that turns 18? Like my son's turning 18.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Yeah.
what happens?
That can be a disaster by itself. So two of my kids, I have three kids. The first one is 24. I did this a few years back. The other one is 19, and I did that for him last year. The moment they turn 18, because of privacy laws, we are not allowed to, as parents, we're no longer allowed to help them. And what I'm talking about is financial, health, or anything related to anything that could be a violation of privacy laws. So what can we do to be able to still help our kids should they get in a car accident or, God forbid, something unexpected happens?
Right.
So there's three legal documents that are very, very critical. The first one is the durable power of attorney. So you can help them with their bank and any type of financial matters. The other one is healthcare directive. And the last one, without it, the doctors won't talk to you, HIPAA waiver. So,
wow.
And if the kids are going to other states for college particularly, I would recommend having one in California and one in the other states, because some states have their own rules and regulations.
That is. Do you have any like documentation on that you can send to me? Because this. What's interesting too is that we're talking about this like it's everyone knows. Most people don't know about this.
No, they don't. Do you know how I
much.
learned about this? I'm an attorney and I do this for a living. I learned, again, because something happened to someone. A friend of mine called. She's like, yeah, my son's in the hospital and the doctor won't talk to me. His roommates called me. He's in the hospital. I said, okay, do you know what's happening? She said, no. I said, okay, call your pediatrician. She called the pediatrician here to get in touch with the hospital. The pediatrician tells her, hey, he's 18. I can't talk to you. She got on a plane. She went there, thank God it was just pneumonia. It wasn't anything worse. He recovered. He was fine. But for several days, he was completely out. And she had no access to help him with any of his health, medical, nothing.
That's terrible. So I believe that, and this is not just saying it, is that my wife came up with this. And I thought, what? What are you talking about? No, that can't be that. That's why you got to marry up, like way up, because she comes up with things I don't even think about. And I'm in the business. I mean, it's weird. It's just crazy. So I would love to get that, because I know that my wife was looking into doing that. I want to make sure that that we have that in order.
Yeah,
so
but remember, your kids are adults. The ones that are over 18, they have to give you permission.
Oh boy. Okay. So that's just two very scary situations right out of the gate. Two situations that you started to well up and almost cry over. So here's a hug. There you go. So, all right, what else you got, Rosita? Because you're already killing it. So,
the other one is actually a funny story, but in some ways sad.
Thank
So
God.
I set up trusts to keep families out of the probate court, which is fabulous. It's a great idea. It keeps them out. I had a trust administration I was happening. Someone had passed away, and the beneficiary really wanted to bother the trustee. She sent us a list, and I'm going to read you a few items of the list. Mm-hmm. One of them was the toothbrush of the deceased mom. The other one was her hospital bed that was at home, and the wheelchair. What she wanted to do with it, I don't know. And a few lists of other items, like particular sweater, dishes, and stuff. And she was really bothering the trustee. At some point, I was like, these lists kept coming. And I kept talking to the trustee. And then I said, this is really draining the resources of the trust. Those are hourly things you guys are paying me. So I just picked up the phone, called the beneficiary. I said, listen, One third is coming out of your pocket because one third is you, one third is the trustee who's also a beneficiary, and your other sibling. Do you know what these emails and phone calls is costing you? I can buy everybody a toothbrush, this and that. Don't waste my time. And the phone call stopped. The email stopped.
So
And
she just wasn't aware?
no, she just wanted to harass the trustee. She just didn't realize it's coming out of her pocket too, the harassment.
Lovely. Lovely. How do you deal with it? Seriously. I mean, I take things personally. I guess I'm just a sensitive guy, but I have a hard time not taking it personally. But you deal with some pretty heavy stuff, some people that are oftentimes like just not getting along, or it could be a mother and a daughter that are no longer talking and they're going to go to court. It's just, I mean, how do you, inside your heart, because you're a sensitive person, I mean, how do you deal with it?
I like to have conversations with everybody. Sometimes it's miscommunication, but sometimes it's just one person's being unreasonable. And I'm not a judge or an arbitrator, but I'm sitting there going, what this child is telling the parent does not make sense. I will tell my clients, let's protect the trustee because you're not going to be here anymore. What can we do to protect the trustee and distribute the assets the way you want, and what we could do? And besides all of the legal documents, I like to do legacy interviews where I get people in front of the camera and I ask them these questions. Say, first of all, you may not use this interview in a court against the client. You're welcome to use it for educational or information purposes only.
Okay.
And I ask them all these questions so they really clarify. Like, yeah, this is the reason I left this asset to this person and not to you. This is the reason I gave this painting to this one and not to you. Or my grandmother's watch went to this person, like particular. And I noticed they fight over the little things. It's not the big money or the big property. They're fighting over the everyday item that was used at the house.
The toothbrush.
The toothbrush. That one killed me.
Yes, yes. Over at our house, it's interesting. My dad passed away a couple years ago. And so, but my mom, whenever I go to visit, it has little Post-its on things. And then she says, what do you think about this? Do you really want this? Because someone, your brother or one of your sisters might want it. What's great about it is that we talk about it. So that my siblings were able to chat about it. Like they came to me once and there's this metal, like an airplane. And I remember that as a kid. And my mom says, do you want that? And I said, oh, yeah, I want that. And I want the WC Field, there's stuff with no value except for in my heart. And she goes, well, okay, the reason I wanted to tell you is because your brother-in-law really wants it because he flies. And of course, my dad was a pilot. So that's something they really bonded over. And I was like, oh, shit, you had to say that, didn't you? So I said, you know what? It's got to go to him. It's got to go to him. And so, and then I said, how about that little, I just found some things that really remind me of my dad and my mom, but it's like, you know what? He has to have it. I don't even know if he knows that I had that conversation, but now he's getting it. So.
Oh, that's really sweet. And
it's
this
nice
is,
to work it out.
It makes a huge difference when you have these conversations ahead of time. It takes away some of the tension, disagreement later. And I'm really happy to hear that you guys are having these conversations right now.
Yeah. Well, the other one that's kind of funny is that there's this beautiful painting that I just love because I think it's just so warm and it reminds me of my mom and dad. And so and I said, well, I'm surprised that Sandy doesn't want this because of this, and this. My younger sister. They go, no, for some reason she doesn't want it. I said, okay, that's weird. I said, that doesn't even make sense. So I hear them in the other room. And she goes, oh, so I'm going to give Scott that. She goes, what? What are you talking about? You know I want that. And I said, sorry, it's already mine. But, I knew how important it was to her, but my mom had misunderstood for whatever reason. So but fortunately we worked it out now, so.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
You won't end up in litigation and in court.
Oh, gosh. That would be the worst thing in the world. I would never want to do that. Do you have any other real estate health stories you want to share?
Not real estate hell, just real estate. Sometimes my clients buy properties and they don't keep them separated. And
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a problem. So uh, when I tell clients, if your property is worth more than $500,000, put it in a separate LLC, particularly investment
Mm-hmm.
real estate holdings. And they sometimes they don't want to deal with a separate accountant, separate this, separate, tax return. They put one or two in one LLC. So guess what? If you have a tenant that falls and gets injured in one building
Oh,
and there
wow.
isn't sufficient insurance, they'll go after the second and the third. Whatever you have in that LLC is attachable.
Oh, wow. Wow. You are worth your weight in gold.
Oh my
I mean,
God, thank you.
seriously, seriously. That's to me one of the first things I do. I went into an appointment recently, and there was an older guy that was there, and I knew that he was having some challenges and stuff. And I said, "Where are you going to go, by the way?" "Oh, I'm not really sure." And then, "Have you talked to your CPA? Have you talked to your estate planner? Have you spoken with that?" And he's like, "No, no, no." I'm going, "You're like 80 something. Do you not have a trust?" So it's interesting that the first thing I want to do is get them to someone like you, get them talking to their CPA, figure out what is this move a good move for you or not? Let's just talk it out. And oftentimes it is the right thing for them to move, but what if it wasn't? What if the capital gains is going to cost them so much that it doesn't make sense? Maybe it should be a rental first. There's just so many factors here. So to me, it's about finding what's right by the client, be a fiduciary, and then everything works itself out.
Yeah. I believe that success, security, and stability just do not happen. You have to plan for it. They don't happen without you planning.
Totally, totally. Okay, I have one more question for you. I'd
Yes.
love for you to share a charity or a cause or something that's close to your heart.
There's a few actually.
Oh, no, you only get one. No, you can do whatever
Only
you want.
one?
This is all about you. It's not about me.
No, because there's three that I like to support.
Sure.
One is Operation School Bell. So they
Mm-hmm.
help supply kits that are in different actually areas. It used to be just in LA, but in other areas where the kids don't have backpacks, toothbrushes, clothing, shoes for that matter. They come in to a school and based on, if the kids don't have shoes, they give them shoes, they give them a backpack, a pencil, something to write with, like t-shirts. They're these kids that not too far, like 10 miles away. They don't have access to clean clothes all the time. They literally flip their shirts over and wear it. So it gives them additional clothing. And I love to support that organization by donating new items or giving them money so they can purchase it.
Let me ask you this: because we come across clothes all the time in our homes, and if there's stuff, is that something that would be good for this charity or?
No, I would give clothes to give away. I give to Global Kindness. It's another charity. What they do is
Mhm.
they take it. They don't actually, they sell it and they use the money for different organizations and people who need it, like directly. They know a family in need. They'll collect the items, they'll sell it. They have a store and things are being sold all the time. But the couple that runs it and founded this organization, they work with their heart. And
Mhm.
I like to support, like anything we're not using, great stuff. It doesn't matter. We give it to Global Kindness and it finds a home somewhere and it helps somebody in return. So I love that organization.
That's great. So I would love to. So I'm going to get in touch. So it's not just clothes, though; it's other items as well.
Yeah, household items, anything.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be great. Oh, it's just reconnecting now, it says. Hopefully we're not going to lose this. If we do, I'll just call you and say, sorry, looks like we're going to get together again. But we have stuff that's thrown away all the time. If we can have good quality stuff and there's someone who can take it and then repurpose it
Yeah,
and help people with it, that's amazing. I love it. I'm gonna fill up a warehouse for them this year.
perfect.
Yes, it's a lot,
Thank you.
a lot of stuff. Yeah, it happens all the time too. And what was the third one?
The third one is Soba Pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they provide food for people who don't have access to food.
Mm-hmm.
And it's free and you can donate food or go directly help them distribute the food. Some they get government help, but the rest of it, a lot of people just donate to them. Like they really need tuna, peanut butter, fresh fruits if you can give them. They
Mm-hmm.
give pasta, rice, different things that people need to
Mm-hmm.
eat. So I'd like to support these three organizations.
That's
that are-
great. So usually on the podcast, when something comes up, they'll say what it is. And so I'm gonna title this one Rosita's three favorite charities.
Okay,
So,
I
and
like
then
that.
that way you can share it with all of your people, and at some point I'll share it too. That way we can just get the word out on all three of them.
Perfect.
All right. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share, or are we good?
No, I really appreciate you asking me to join forces and share our
Yeah.
knowledge together. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's great. It's been great having you here. I really appreciate it very much.